here's our sourdough starter. It's looking lovely. I gave it a bit of a stir earlier on, so the pictures don't do it justice, but I'll still add them on so you can see what it's looking like before feeding. So I'm just going to zero off my scales, pop it on, zero them off again, and then I'm going to do 100 grams of strong white flour like we did yesterday. 1, 2, 3. Nearly there. $99, 100, that'll do. So I'm just going to zero off the scales. I'm going to put 55 grams of water, see how we're getting on with that. Give it a stir and add any more if I need to. Hey, I'm on 55. I'm just going to take it off, give it a bit of a mix. It is getting a little bit easier to mix now. I'm going to put about 5 grams more of water in. But that's it. So. That's gone up to 60. Just giving it a good mix. Looking really well. Okay, that's all incorporated in. It's starting to get a lot easier to mix it all in. Perfect. So that is ready to have the lid put on loosely. And wait until tomorrow. Just make sure you subscribe and like so you don't miss the next one. So I just wanted to quickly cover a couple of questions that I've had. The first one is where to keep your starter. So I keep mine on the worktop. It's nice and warm at the minute, but when I started my first successful starter, I was struggling to get it to grow. So as the temperature was not as warm as it is now, I still had the radiators on. So I had the starter in its jar on the kitchen table, but I made sure the kitchen table was quite close to the radiator and wrapped it in a tea towel just to keep it at a nice temperature. I'm aiming for around 20 degrees, and that seems to do well with the starter. So in winter, I'd need to be careful to not have the starter right next to a window, for instance, because it won't do as well. It won't be as bubbly. It won't kill it, because you can keep it in the fridge, but it will just help it develop nicely. Another question I've had is how to avoid the bad mould or bad mould growing on your starter. Now you'll know if you have mould because it'll be like an orangey streak. I've personally not had it, but what I would do, I've done a little bit of research, but what I would do, I wouldn't give up on the whole starter, especially if it's just a little bit on the side of the jar, for instance, or if it's just a little streak at the top. I would try and spoon that out carefully without stirring it in. Spoon out that and make sure you've got as much of it as you can. Pour it into another receptacle, a bowl for instance. Give that jar a really good clean, get it dry, and then pop your starter back in. Continue feeding it as normal and see how you get on. If the mould keeps coming back, you might have to give up on your starter, but I wouldn't give up straight away. So I try to clear it off straight away initially and then go from there. The yeast itself, as it's stronger, should be able to fight off any moulds anyway. but initially when it's new, from what I've read, it can happen, though it's usually rare because the yeast usually keeps it healthy. It's usually quite a sturdy thing. So I hope that helps. If you have any other questions, please shout up and I'll be more than happy to answer them.